What is up, my fart smellers and smart fellas? Welcome back to a new series on my channel where I'm going to be testing out which towers can and cannot beat Molten mode on their own. And now, before I get into the video, I gotta lay out some rules for this challenge, okay? And I gotta talk about some extra things as well. So, first of all, I know that a bunch of other people have done pretty much this exact same challenge that I'm doing right now. Like, for example, the most popular video that basically did what I'm doing here was from a channel named Elite. And I will leave a link down in the description of this video to Elite's videos if you guys want to check it out and watch it. But the reason I decided to recreate this challenge is because, well, first of all, Elite's video is quite a bit outdated. So his video was created like a whole almost 3 years ago. And obviously in the past 2 to 3 years, we've gotten a lot of nerfs and buffs and reworks to just a bunch of different towers. And so, yeah, that's my main reason here. But the other reason that is also kind of important is that unlike him, I will be using support towers when I conduct my experiment. And I actually put up a poll on my channel before I started recording this video and these voice lines and all of that. And I put up a poll on my channel, and I basically asked all of you guys if you'd want me to, like if I started this series, would you rather have me do this challenge with support towers or without support towers? And pretty much everybody said that they would like to see this challenge done with support towers. Like almost 80% people said they want to see it with support towers. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. And I know that might maybe be considered cheating because, like, the towers that I'm picking out for this challenge aren't really going to be soloing because they're going to be supported by other towers. But, I still decided to do this challenge like this because when I test out the tower, when I try to, beat Molten mode with just one tower, I really want to push that one tower to its limit. So I really want to use support towers, and listen, basically the thing is that I just really want to push all these towers to their limits. And see if, even the worst towers will be able to solo Molten mode on their own. So, yeah. And besides that, the other rules of my challenge are that I'm going to be trying to use the exact same support towers for every single tower that I'm experimenting with. So, for example, let's say I use the Scout Tower. So if I use the Scout Tower, I will be bringing with me the DJ Tower, the Commander Tower, the Farm Tower, and the Jester Tower for support. And it will be exactly like that with every other tower. So if I bring Paintballer, I will also bring those exact 4 same supports. Or if I do Demo Man, I will also do it with those exact same 4 supports. Or if I do, like, I don't know, Soldier, I will also do it with those exact same 4 supports. I will only change my support towers if it's absolutely necessary to do so, because I want to have as little variables as possible in this challenge. And speaking of variables, I will also be conducting every single one of these tests on the exact same map. I'm going to be doing toy board every single time, all the time. And that will never change. Even if I cannot beat Molten mode with the tower, I will still just stick to toy board, and I will not change my map, and I'll just do every single tower on toy board, if you know what I'm saying. So that's going to be my go-to map for every single one of these towers. Because again, as I said, I want to have as little variables as possible in this challenge. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That pretty much covers everything. But I guess there's just one more thing I have to go over before we start the video. So the last thing that I want to go over is I want to say that if you guys want to compete with me in this challenge, you're absolutely welcome to, and I encourage you guys, in fact. Basically, how it's gonna work is that, let's say that I fail a challenge, right? So this is how this competition is going to work, right? Let's say I fail a challenge. Let's say I bring Scout to Molten mode, and I try to solo Molten mode with Scout, and I try to do the whole experiment, saying if Scout can beat Molten mode. And let's say that I fail the challenge. I cannot beat Molten mode, and I just give up, and that's the end of that. Well, if that happens, then you guys will be able to make your own video trying to solo Molten mode with Scouts. And if you guys manage to get a better score than me, like if you manage to get to a higher wave, or you manage to beat Molten mode, then all you guys have to do is upload a video of you doing the challenge on your own YouTube channel. And of course, comment below this video that you did it. After you do all of that, I will go onto your channel and I will, see your video. I will look at it, and eventually I'll make my own video using your strategy. And I will shout you out in the video. I will, explain your strategy. Or at least I will try to explain it. I'm not that smart, but I will try to explain it. And obviously I'll shout you out in the video, and then I'll make a community post shouting you out as well. Now, let's go over the rules that you guys will have to follow if you try to attempt to do this challenge with the tower that I failed with. So, the only real rule for you guys is that if I fail with the Scout, for example, and you attempt to do the challenge with Scout, then Scout is going to have to be your main DPS, So if I fail the challenge, you guys will be able to use whatever support tower you want, and you will be able to play on whatever map you want. But all that I ask of you guys is that when you do the challenge, you just have to use Scout as your main DPS tower. So you can use support towers. Your support towers can even do damage. Like, for example, with Jester. Jester, if you place a Jester down, you can do damage with him, and it will all be fine. But the thing is that if you guys are doing this challenge, at the end of the day, at the end of the round, Scout, or whichever tower I failed with, is going to have to be the tower that does the most damage at the end of the round. So if that doesn't happen, and the tower that I failed with, that you're trying to do the challenge with, if the tower ends up doing less damage than your support towers, then you're going to get disqualified from the challenge, and I will not accept your run as a legitimate run. So the only rule that you guys have to abide by is that if you pick a tower to do the challenge with, then the tower that you pick is going to have to do like 90% of the damage in the run. And that's pretty much the only rule. Other than that, you guys can use whatever support towers you want, and you can play on whatever map you want. But yeah, that's really the only rule. So anyways, with all that flippity jibber jabber out of the way, I think that we're finally ready to hop into this challenge and see which towers can and cannot solo Molten mode once and for all. Alright, so for the first episode of this series, we're only going to be playing around with the starter towers of the game, and we're only going to be trying to beat the game with the starter towers. So obviously the first starter tower on the list is the normal Scout, and in this challenge specifically, whenever I came across a golden tower, I wanted to test out both if the normal version of the tower could beat Molten mode solo, and if the golden version of the tower could beat the Molten mode solo. Because there are certain scenarios where golden towers are like super expensive, so maybe you're like so maybe you could beat Molten mode with like the normal version of the tower because you managed to save more money, but you can't beat it with the golden version because the golden version is expensive. Or like there are other scenarios where you can't beat a game mode with the normal tower because it's weak, but you can beat it with the golden tower because it's strong. And so yeah, I just want to test like all the towers basically. And yeah, starting off with normal Scout here. As you guys can see, in the early game, Scout didn't really seem to have many issues. He didn't really struggle. He's a cheap tower, and he does decent damage for the early game, so he wouldn't really struggle that much at all. The only real struggles here began around around like wave 22 when the first strong bosses started coming out. But other than that, our scouty boy out here really didn't have that many issues beating normal mode. There's literally just nothing to say here. I mean, he steamed through it. The early game, as I said, was pretty easy because he's a starter tower. He's a cheap tower. He does decent damage. The mid game was also fairly easy, I would say. Like, again, the only real problem started showing up when a lot of those mini bosses started coming out. So I forgot her name, but I think they're called like the strong bosses or whatever. Either way, they had like 16,000 HP and they're big and bulky and whatever. And so those guys were the only guys that posed a real threat here. As well as them, the only other enemies that posed a threat were the mystery enemies. The big breaker enemies, the ones that split into multiple parts, if you know what I'm saying. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the only real thing that I learned from this challenge here is that when you place down a bunch of towers at the same time, like when you have 40 of the same tower, and they're all shooting at the same time, the noises they make when they shoot, it starts sounding quite interesting, Some, like, the noises basically get glitched out. Like, some parts of a noise play and some others don't. And, yeah, it's just wacky. Pretty much happened with every single tower that I tested out in this challenge. But yeah, anyways, as I said, my boy, the normal scout, did pretty well for like 99% of the challenge. However, eventually, you're gonna see what happens. You're gonna see what happened to my poor scouty boy. But until then, just continue watching the gameplay here. I will catch up with you guys later. I'm back, and as you guys can probably imagine, this is where the tragedy happens. So, in the beginning of this run, I alluded to a little silly tragedy that will happen at the end. And as you guys can imagine, it's on this final wave. So, unfortunately, my army of the average civilians in Chicago wasn't able to beat the final boss of Molten mode. And I think the reason for that is because Scout just pretty much has no. Like, Scout doesn't have, like, really any good qualities to him, He's, like, painfully average. He doesn't have splash damage, he doesn't have high damage, he doesn't have fast fire rate, he doesn't have any pierce, he doesn't have anything like that. So he has, like, pretty much no special features. And so because of that, he just simply wasn't able to dish out enough DPS to even beat the enemies that the Molten boss was summoning in front of him. And, yeah, obviously, we died. We died at the final wave here, and I don't think this could have gone, like, any differently. Even if I had the option to, like, play on a different map and bring with myself, like, a bunch of different support towers, and even if I got, like, really lucky with what the boss summoned, I just don't think it's possible to beat Molten mode with just Scout and supports. So this is where I give up. However, you guys, if you guys feel up to the challenge and you feel like you can beat Molten mode with just Scout and supports, then I encourage you to make your own video trying to do it. And you guys can bring whatever support towers you want with you, and you can play on whatever map you want. And if you guys want to challenge me here, you can make your own video trying to solo Molten mode with just Scout and supports and upload it on your own channel. And when you do that, comment below this video and say that you did it. And I will go into your channel and I will check out your run. And if your run is good and if it manages to beat Molten mode, or at least get a higher score than me, then I will shout you out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, but unfortunately, this is where I'm gonna have to give up with the Scout only challenge. So yeah, without any further jibber jabber, let's move on to the next tower, boys. See you there. Alright, as you guys have already seen, the normal Scout has failed the challenge. However, the Golden Scout is very sad, alright? So, with the Golden Scout, I actually have pretty high hopes in him winning the challenge. And the reason for that is, well, just because, the Golden Scout is better. I mean, yeah, he's a bit more expensive, I believe, than the normal Scout. Or at least I think he is. I'm actually not even sure anymore. But yeah, still, even with all of that, I think that he's going to be able to solo Molten mode with supports. He's a pretty cheap tower for being a golden tower. And obviously, he does, like, I think almost 4 times as much damage as the normal Scout. So, the normal Scout does, I think, 4 damage per shot at max level, and the Golden Scout does 15 damage per shot at max level. So, yeah, that is like almost 4 times as much damage as a normal Scout. And so, yeah, I just have really high hopes in this little man. I have hopes that he's going to be able to beat Molten mode. Because if you guys remember, with the normal Scout, we actually got pretty far into the Molten mode. We didn't get, like, embarrassed or anything. Like, honestly, when I played with the normal Scout, I thought we might die on, like, wave 30 or something like that, But we actually managed to pull through to the last wave. And in the last wave, our main problem was just the fact that Scout was, like, a painfully average tower, and he had, like, nothing going for him. He didn't have, like, super high range, he didn't have super high damage, he didn't have super high fire rate, and honestly, neither does Golden Scout. Like, Golden Scout as well also doesn't have, like, super high fire rate or super high range, or any abilities or splash damage or whatever, or pierce. But the thing that he does have is 3 times more damage, or about almost 4 times more damage than the normal Scout, as I already said. So I believe that just with that little, quote-unquote, little boost in damage, I believe that he's going to be able to, beat Molten mode and defeat that final boss once and for all. But again, maybe there is a chance that my dreams do get crushed with this guy right here. But anyways, to see if my dreams get crushed or not, you guys are going to have to watch until the end of this round. So I got my jibber jabber here, and I'll let you guys watch the challenge, and I'll pop in at the end, to for the final reveal, I guess, to give you some more commentary. But anyways, see you guys at the end of the round. So yeah, as you guys can see, Golden Scout was a completely different story than the normal Scouts. He managed to smoke pretty much the entire game, and he didn't really have any troubles at all. He was able to beat all the enemies with a good amount of ease, And so the last thing that remains before him is the Molten boss. And as you guys can see, he absolutely smoked the Molten boss, alright? I was already confident that the Golden Scout is going to be able to beat the Molten boss, but I thought that it was going to be a pretty close game, I didn't expect it to end so quickly. So yeah, as you guys can see, the Golden Scout just smoked the Molten boss like it wasn't even close. The Molten boss died at like the third turn, so it was over pretty quickly. But anyways, with all that being said, let's move on to the next tower. Alright, so the next starter tower that we're gonna test out in this challenge is obviously the Sniper. And with Sniper, I have pretty high hopes going into this challenge. Because I don't know if you guys have seen these videos before, but like about a year ago or so, I think, there were like a bunch of videos popping up on YouTube that were basically tutorials on how you can beat Molten mode with just the Sniper. And I'm pretty sure those videos did not even use any support towers. So, going into this challenge, I had really, really high hopes for my Snipery boy. And, Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, in the past year or so, or whenever those videos came out, as far as I'm aware, Sniper hasn't gotten any nerfs or buffs or rebalances, so the challenge should go pretty much the same as it did back then. The only difference is that the videos I watched often did this Sniper only challenge on longer maps, like that one Autumn map and whichever other maps. But even with all of that, I think this map is going to do just fine as well. Because again, this is an easy map. It has a lot of curves. It's pretty long, and it's a pretty compact map as well. So the snipers are pretty much going to be able to see the entire map. And so yeah, I'm pretty hyped to hop into this challenge. I'm pretty hyped to see how my sniper boy does. Again, as I said, I have high hopes, well, even if those solo sniper videos didn't exist, I think I would still have high hopes for Sniper. And the reason for that is because he's just a generally cheap tower. Like, he's really, really cheap. The only, like, slightly expensive level that he has is his maximum level, which I'm pretty sure costs around $4,500 or something like that. And, yeah, I mean, as far as Sniper goes, I think pretty much all of you know what he does. He's a cliff tower that you place in high spaces. He can see most of the map. And a couple of things that I really, really like about Sniper is that he cannot get stunned by the boss's attacks. So obviously he can't be stunned by the stomp attack because he's on high ground, so it doesn't affect him. But in this video, I've also noticed that even if the boss throws a fireball directly at the sniper, he still doesn't get stunned. He just stands there menacingly, like a Chad, you know. And other than the fact that he's not able to be stunned, the other thing that I really, really like about Sniper, and the thing that gives me hope, is that he does high damage in long periods of time. So he has like a super low fire rate, but he does a lot of damage, which is already like one special trait that he has that is, above the Scout Tower. So I really have high hopes for this guy, basically. But yeah, I guess I'm not going to reveal to you guys how he actually does. Well, maybe I already did with all my jibber jabbering. But anyways, if you guys want to find out how he does, then I guess you're just going to have to continue watching the video. So enjoy the gameplay, and I'll see you guys at the end of the round. So yeah, as you guys are gonna see, this battle here with the Molten boss with Sniper is gonna be pretty close. It's gonna be just slightly nerve-wracking. I don't think it was too hard, but it was just a little bit scary at some moments. And yeah, in this final battle, the tower that came in clutch the most was the Jester. I mean, without the Jester, this would have either been like super, super close, or I would have just straight up died. So as you guys are gonna see around the fourth bend or so, the Jester is just gonna start stun locking the Molten boss, and the Molten boss is just gonna keep walking around in circles, not knowing what to do, and because of that, the snipers are pretty much going to be able to take out the final boss. Now, again, as I said, the Jester came in pretty clutch with this one. Honestly, I thought the snipers would be able to shred the boss way quicker than they actually did. But, you know, it still worked out fine. Everybody still survived. It was all okay. So, at the end of the day, it was all right. It was a good time. All right. But yeah, that's it for the sniper. Nothing super special here. He's just super good single damage tower. So, you know, that's why he beat the final boss. I think the hardest challenge with this one was the early game and slightly the mid game as well, because it was pretty hard getting all those snipers set up in the first place. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say there. That's really it. So see you guys at the next tower. Well, as you guys can probably already guess, the next tower on the chopping block is the paintballer. And now I can see your guys' concerns already. You guys probably do not have high hopes for the paintballer, because paintballer is notoriously like one of the worst towers in the entire game. However, I do have some hopes for it. I don't have high hopes, but I do have some hopes for it. And the reason I have some hopes for it is because even though it does only slightly more DPS than the Scout, which would indicate that it will lose this challenge, the Paintballer also does splash damage, which means that it can deal with those Molten Titans that come before the Molten Boss way, way, way quicker. And it can also deal splash damage to all of the units that the Molten Boss summons. So if it can take out all of the summons from the Molten Boss quickly, then it probably has a solid chance of taking out the Molten Boss. Now, in the early game, the Paintballer didn't really have that many problems, because usually, if you guys are familiar with OG Tower Defense Simulator, you would know that Paintballer was usually used as a starter tower for the early game. And so, yeah, as you can probably imagine, it didn't really struggle that much in the early game. The first, like, slight struggle that came around was during Wave 10, when the first mini-boss came out. But he was just, you were just able to beat him with by spamming a couple of paintballer towers. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. And the other thing is that paintballer does not have hidden detection. So in the end, what I had to do is put a couple of jesters in the back to catch all those hidden enemies. And now you guys might consider that to be cheating, because, if a tower relies on another tower to catch the hidden enemies, then, is that tower really soloing Molten mode? And for me personally, it still is. The challenge still counts, because, if a tower doesn't see hiddens, then, we all know that it's gonna die in like wave 13 or wave 15. We all know that. But I really want to push these towers to their limits. I want to see how far they could get into the game if they hypothetically had hidden detection. So yeah, anyways, with all that jibber jabber out of the way, I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the video a little bit and see for yourself what happens. So, we got our final defenses pretty much set up here, As always, we got most of our towers down, we're doing pretty well. And obviously, the only real thing that we have to conquer right now is the Molten boss. And one interesting thing about the paintballer actually is that it kind of was able to deal with hidden enemies by itself, even though it didn't have hidden detection. And the reason for that is because it has splash damage, as we mentioned before. So when it hits an enemy, and that enemy was close to a hidden enemy, then the hidden enemy would be damaged a little bit as well. So I'm pretty confident in saying that this tower could beat all the hidden enemies if it had hidden detection. But yeah, anyways, moving on to the final boss. This final boss actually posed quite a bit of a challenge. I was actually the first few times I did this run with the paintballer, I was actually pretty close to giving up. Because I died the first few times that I did this challenge. But the reason I decided to continue doing it instead of just giving up is because when the boss leaked, it was always around like 5,000 HP. It was super, super low. And usually the reason that it leaked is because the boss just kept on stun spamming me. I guess it was getting revenge for me stun spamming it with the Jester. But it was still kind of infuriating a little bit. But yeah, in my first few runs, the boss just kept on stun spamming and stun spamming and stun spamming and stun spamming and throwing fireballs and stomping like every 5 seconds. Like my towers just did not get a break, and so that's why it leaked. But in this run right here, the paintballer actually didn't have that much of a problem in taking the Molten boss out. It still had a little bit of an issue, and it was a little bit close, but in the end we managed to pull through and finish the run with the paintballer. So yeah, anyways, with all that jibber jabber out of the way, once again, for like the 5th time in the video, we can move on to the next tower. Alright, so the next tower in my inventory that I have is the Demo Man over here. And with the Demo Man, I had decent hopes that he would be able to complete this challenge. I think I had about as much hope for him to beat the challenge as he did for the paintballer. So I wasn't like too terribly hyped for him, but I was gonna try my best to make it work. And just like with the paintballer, I expected to have to do quite a few runs in order to get him to work. But in the end, you will see what actually happened with him. But yeah, this run that I did with the Demo Man was actually pretty interesting. I think, you know what, I'm just gonna spoil it. I was trying to avoid spoiling the ending of this run, but I'm kind of gonna have to do it. So basically, the Demo Man actually did way, way, way better than I expected it to do. It in the end, it didn't really end up struggling anywhere. It didn't end up struggling with the early game or the mid game, which makes sense because when people use Demo Man, they usually use him as an early game tower. So it makes sense that he didn't have any problems there. It makes sense that it didn't have any problems in the mid game because it does a little bit more DPS than the paintballer, and just like the paintballer, it also has splash damage. So it was able to deal with hordes of enemies pretty damn fairly easily. But yeah, it did way better than I expected. And in the end, it actually did manage to kill the Molten boss. So, I'll spoil it. I'll spoil the ending of what happened with him. But yeah, I mean, it's a way better tower than I thought, honestly. It had hidden detection, so it didn't really have problems with those enemies, and it was just way, way better than I expected it to be. And that's probably because I haven't really ever used Demo Man since it got nerfed in the hardcore update all the way back in 2020. But yeah, since the rework, it's actually a pretty decent tower, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, to see how fast the Molten boss died and how close the game was, you guys are gonna have to watch until the end of this run. So yeah, see you at the end of this run, I suppose. Goodbye. Well, once again, we are at the end of the game, and we're just about to face the final boss, and we have all our defenses set up. We have everything in order, and we're ready to chew ass and kick gum, and we're all out of ass. It is what it is. But yeah, so now you guys are truly going to be able to see how fast this little guy over here was able to take down the Molten boss and how much struggle he had and whatnot. And in the end, he actually didn't have that much trouble. He didn't have nearly as much trouble taking down the final boss as he thought he would have. He actually managed to shred him like fairly quickly for a starter tower, and I was pleasantly surprised overall. I really enjoyed this run. I really enjoyed the way that it worked out, and yeah, I mean, I might start using Demo Man a little bit more often after this whole ordeal here. But yeah, that's really all. That's it for my boy Demo Manny. So we're gonna move on to the next tower. So see you guys there once again. Our next tower on the list is the Hunter, and with the Hunter, I have pretty high hopes for him beating this challenge here. And actually, I'm pretty confident that he's going to be able to do it. Like, I'm like 90% sure that he's going to be able to do it. And the thing about him is that he's pretty much like a sniper, but like you can place him on the ground instead of cliffs. And he also does a bit more damage than the sniper. So, if sniper was able to do it, I'm like 90% sure that this guy's going to be able to do it as well. And again, just like most other towers, since this guy's a starter tower, he's pretty cheap and pretty cost effective. So he didn't really have any problems with the early game and the first few rounds. And I was actually expecting him to have a little bit of an issue with round 10, but he actually didn't, like, whatsoever. Yeah, the breakers also weren't that big of an issue for him. The thing about these towers that have like really long cooldowns is that these towers actually have like some pretty insane targeting. So I don't know if you guys saw this with the sniper, but even if multiple towers with slow fire rate shoot an enemy at the same time, they're all going to be able to shoot different enemies if an enemy gets killed, which is pretty insane for a tower for a big mass of towers that's all shooting an enemy at the same time. Like the targeting on these guys is pretty damn insane. Like, let's say you have like I don't know, 20 hunters and like 20 normal zombies, right? So even though all those hunters are gonna shoot at the exact same frame, they're all gonna be able to shoot a different zombie. And they're gonna be able to clear all 20 zombies in one shot. That's just how good their targeting is programmed, which is really, really awesome in my opinion. And yeah, so because of that, these guys didn't really have any troubles with the early game or the mid game. They were able to shred the rushes of many bosses pretty damn quickly. Because of their superior targeting and the pack-a-punch damage that they did. And yeah, in the end, they didn't really struggle that much up until the final boss. But of course, as always, to see how much they struggled against the final boss, you guys are going to have to watch until the end. So, see you there. So here we are once again with all of our defenses set up, and as you guys can see, the situation is pretty much exactly the same as the sniper situation. The only difference is that Hunter does a little bit more damage, but he can get stunned by the boss, which is a pretty big downside in my opinion. But even still, he was able to shred the boss pretty quickly. You know, there's just really nothing special to say here. I mean, obviously didn't struggle that much. Like at the end of the day, as I said, it's pretty much the exact same situation as a sniper. He just shredded the boss because he has really good single target damage. Single target is what he was made for, and yeah, even after the yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a point in time where a hunter used to be super OP when he got added to the game. Like you were able to like solo fallen mode with him. But even after the nerfs he received, he's still a pretty decent tower. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't think I would use him that often, but he is pretty fun to use. He's not like super OP, but he is fun. So that's really it. That's my final verdict on the towers. So I guess see you guys on the next tower. The next tower up is the soldier. And just like with the scout, I'm going to be testing out both the normal version of the tower and the golden version of the tower. And this might seem redundant to you guys, and you know what, maybe it is. But to me, it's not that redundant. And the reason for that is because there are some instances where you can solo Molten mode with the normal tower, but not the golden tower, because the golden tower is more expensive. And then there are other instances where you can solo a game mode with the golden tower, but not the normal tower, because obviously the golden tower is more powerful. And so that's the reason I'm doing the challenge with both of them. And honestly, for the most part, I'm also just doing the challenge with both versions of the tower just because it's fun. But yeah, anyways, I expect the soldier to be quite similar, to be in quite a similar situation to the sniper, just like the hunter was. And the reason that I expect that is because, again, when the soldier got reworked, there were a ton of videos on YouTube that were basically giving a tutorial on how to solo Molten mode with just soldiers. And again, all those videos did not have support towers. So, you know, with support towers, my soldier boy should be able to, solo Molten mode just as fine. Obviously, again, the soldier is a starter tower, so you can expect it to not have that many troubles in the early game because, again, it's a cheap tower. It does quick bursts of damage. It can pretty much take like any enemy down. And to be honest, I think the soldier was so far my favorite tower to use out of all the starter towers. Don't get me wrong, other starter towers were pretty fun. Like the Golden Scout was pretty fun, the Paintballer was pretty fun. Even the Sniper and the Hunter were pretty fun, and the Demo Man was obviously also really, really fun. But the thing about the Soldier is that it was my personal favorite tower because it has the most damage per dollar out of all of these starter towers that I tested out before. So the soldier was obviously able to, let me farm the most out of all the other towers because I only needed to place down a couple of soldiers in order to get through the early and mid game, which obviously allowed me to place down a ton of farms and farm up and all that stuff. And so yeah, it was a pretty satisfying experience overall. Anyways, with all of that out of the way, let's actually see how this tower does in reality, shall we? So yeah, once again we're at the boss, and as expected, he really isn't that hard. As I predicted from the previous videos of TDS and soloing Molten mode with only Soldier, the final boss really didn't end up being that hard. Like he wasn't like super brain dead, but he also wasn't really that difficult either. Overall, I just enjoyed seeing him get shredded and all. And as always, the soldier didn't really have any troubles with really any enemy. I mean, he has decent damage. He has pretty fast attack speed, and that's pretty much the. And now, of course, he's cheap, so that's pretty much the perfect formula for beating Molten mode with all those with your tower. And so yeah, I mean, I'm pretty pleased with how he did. I'm pretty happy with it. There's really not much to say. But yeah, with the normal soldier doing this well, I'm really hyped to see how the golden soldier does. Well. We really saved the best for last, didn't we? And honestly, that kind of happened by pure miracle. I didn't really plan on saving the Golden Soldier for the last tower in the starter category. It's just how the towers ended up being lined up in my inventory. So the way I picked out the which tower to do first and which tower to do last in this challenge is that I just straight up picked them out how they were laid out in my inventory, and that was it. Like the first tower that was in my inventory, I did first, and the last tower that was in my inventory, I did last. And obviously, the soldier was the last tower in my inventory as far as the starter tower section goes, and so obviously that was the last tower that I did, and. I mean, I think this is the only tower that I will record only one section for. Because you guys already know what to expect. Like, this tower is gonna shred. Like, I didn't even have to, keep any suspension from you guys. I didn't have to keep any secrets from you guys. You already know what's gonna happen. This tower is just gonna shred, and it's gonna leave no crumbs behind. So... I really don't have to say much here, I mean, this tower just has pretty much no troubles in Molten mode. Even if I did this challenge without any support towers, this tower right here would probably be able to shred, right? So you guys already know what to expect. You know what's gonna happen. I don't really have to keep on jibber-jabbering all that much. I mean, this tower is cheap. It's cost-effective. It has high damage. It has high fire rate. And it's really not going to have any problems in early, mid, or late game, or with the boss. So with all that being said, I'm going to just let you guys relax and enjoy watching all the shredding happen. So, yeah, see ya.
Moje tata, zločinac iz rata. Moje tata, zločinac iz rata. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Bosni osvajo, moje tajo, po Bosni osvajo. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Sam tata, zločinac iz rata. Moj je tata, zločinac iz rata. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Bosni osvajo, moje tajo, po Bosni osvajo. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Vi se potrudite, pa ga osudite. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda. Nema niko muda da vodi ga do suda.
So, that is pretty much it for the first episode of our little experiment here. We managed to get through all of the starter towers, and yeah, I mean, the ones that were able to solo Molten mode were the Golden Scout, the Sniper, the Paintballer, the Demo Man, the Hunter, and the normal soldier and the golden soldier. So both versions of the soldier were able to solo Molten mode. So, in the end, the only tower in the starter section that wasn't able to solo Molten mode was the normal scout. However, if you, again, I'm saying this for like the third time in this video, but if you guys want to compete with me in this little challenge, you can take on the challenge of soloing Molten mode with just the scout and whatever supports you want. Again, I want to reiterate, when you're doing this challenge, you can use any support tower you want. It doesn't have to be the ones I'm using, it can be literally any support tower. And you can also play on any map that you want. The only rule is that if you're attempting this challenge, your scout has to do 90 to 95% damage in the entire game. So, like, for example, like, let's say Ace Pilot. Even though Ace Pilot is technically a support tower, since it gives camo detection to nearby towers, you can't really use Ace Pilot in your run, because Ace Pilot does a ton of damage, and it would just be unfair, you know, to use him in a scout-only challenge. And yeah, the only other thing that you guys have to do is if you guys manage to complete Molten mode with just the scout and support towers, you should upload it, a video of it on your own channel, and then you should comment down below on my video saying that you managed to do it and you managed to beat Molten mode, and then I will go over to your channel, I will check out your video. And then if you actually manage to beat Molten mode, I will shout you out in my next video. I will use your strategy, and I will also make a community post shouting you out. So anyways, with all that being said, that is pretty much it. That is it for the starter section of the towers, and next up we're going to be moving up to the intermediate section, and we're going to be seeing which one of these towers can solo Molten mode, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Without any further jibber jabbering, that is really all I have to say for this video. So, yeah, that's all. See ya, boys. See you in the next one.